The Chair now recognizes the gentleman from Georgia, Mr. Collins.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate it. Ms. Koskinen, here we go again. I told a story last time, and it was the story of my young son who, to some media reports, became famous, I guess, or infamous, however you want to describe it, on the stories that he used to tell, and I recounted this timeline, and it just, I wish I could sit here today and see you again and say that what was not plausible then has now gotten a little more plausible, and it just seems to not have gotten any more plausible. We still continue, and people ask, why are we continuing to do this? Because it just looks like, there's something new comes out all the time. One request will say this, there's another request, and it was asked earlier, I had to leave and come back, and it said, how much, paperwork that you've put to the committee, and how many hours are being worked on. To restore trust in a relationship, whether it is between two people or whether it's between government and the people that they serve, it should really be of no limit to restore that trust, especially with the IRS. So, frankly, to tell me that you gave 1 million documents and that your hours are spending on, because of the issues that have been raised and the lack of trust on both sides, I have Democrats and Republicans in my district who are appalled at this. And they want it solved. They want the real answers, and they want to continue, and they don't want to keep reading every week in the paper that something new's come up. I think that is an issue of trust that has to be maintained here. And frankly, the plausibility story is just, again, getting to the level of unbelievable in a lot of ways. But I do have some questions, because we've talked about the Lois Lerner emails. But in addition to those, the committee has also asked for other emails, and I want to talk to you about those for just a second to see the status of those subpoenas. Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay. Holly Paz emails from responsive to the committee's request from August 2nd, 2013 to February 14th, 2014. Have you gathered all of those emails?
We've provided all of the emails with regard to the determination process. And again, pursuant to what I thought were agreed upon search terms, but apparently not totally agreed, with the investigating committees, that we would select 83 custodians who were the ones most likely to be involved, and that we would search.
Which are those the same 83 that a quarter of them's hard drives crashed?
Well, it's not clear a quarter. There's at this point nobody knows what that answer is. But
so we could have more that have crashed.
We could have more, we could have less. I don't know until we find out.
Does that just not boggle the mind that of a small number, about a quarter, and we can argue back and forth a quarter, not a quarter, I'm not a mathematician, neither are you, but that there may be others in that subset that deals with the areas we're asking for?
Yes, and that's a perfect example as to why it would be very helpful had we been able to complete the investigation of what happened to the custodians. We could tell you. The reason I actually decided we would continue to find out how many Lois Lerner emails we had was because if we hadn't been able to do that, people would be talking about there are
But let's not change the question. I asked about Holly Pass.
Okay, but
we'll get away from Lerner. I ask about Holly.
Okay, no, but my point is that we provide, to the extent we can provide the full story, your point, then it's a lot easier to know, and you can disagree about it, but it's a lot better to know what the total picture is. So when you get to custodians, because the IG is now doing that, we don't know what the answer is, so it may be 10, it may be 20, it may be 5, it may be 25, I don't know, and at this point we aren't able to investigate that, and we're hoping the IG, when he completes his investigation, will conclude with the custodians as well.
Well, that's another source of contention about.
Anyway, it's part of the problem with doing this in dribs and drabs.
I understand.
And every day having a press release about some aspect of some interview.
Thank you for saying drips and drabs, because that is what this investigation, it seems like it has been ever since we started, and especially even from your comments and others, that every day we get drips and drabs and drips and drabs, and the people are tired of it, this Congress is tired of it, and this is the problem we have, because I'm going to assume from your question, I'm an attorney as well, that that's a no. After all you said, you've not gathered all of her emails, or that you don't know if you've gathered all their emails.
No, exactly right. I didn't mean to be evasive. We provided all of the emails that were determined to be relevant to the determination process. We have not yet provided all of her emails, because our first priority, agreed with this committee in March, was we would find all of Lois Lerner's emails.
So no. So the question, William Wilkins, same question. Yes or no?
Same answer. You've got all of his emails that are responsive to the investigation that started all of this.
Okay, but no to all. Jonathan Davis, same question.
Again, you've got all of his.
No. I mean, because if at this point, all is all. I mean, we had this
That's right.
conversation 3 months ago.
And as I said in March, we're happy to keep working with you to figure out what your next priority is. Obviously, thanks to the system, we can't produce it all at once. We've actually produced a lot of stuff, and it takes us a long time. Part of the background in the June 13th public report was to try to explain why, with our system, it takes so long to produce this stuff. We should not have to spend $18 million. We should have a better system. There's no doubt about that.
I don't disagree. And the question I have there is that, is we need them all in the sense of, the clarification issue here, and we just not got that. I do have one quick. I want to go back to something that was asked a lot earlier, and it was, I believe, from my friend from South Carolina. He said, "We confirmed." And you said, "I don't know who told me." And I've sat through, this will be my third, I guess, with you listening. And there's been a lot of meetings in which you were told information, but you don't remember who was in the meeting. Or you don't know who told you that. And it hit me as I was sitting here. Maybe there were multiple people in the room, and you're not sure who said it first or who told you first. So I'm going to ask it differently. I don't want to know who told you first or last. I'm not being specific in that nature. I want to know who was in the room when you were told that we have confirmed all that. Who was, and surely you're a very bright individual. You would know at least who was in the room.
I have 12 meetings a day on average.
I do as well. I know most of the ones in the meeting, especially when it's senior staff on something of this nature.
And those meetings average probably 8 to 10 people, so I cannot tell you about any meeting who was actually in the room, but I can tell you who was likely in the room, and that is the people who have been working on the production with your staff. Obviously, my counselor was in the room. Probably my chief of staff was in the room, but I can't tell you, and I don't recall because it wasn't significant at the time, who else was in the room. We were reviewing the document.
It was significant at the time that you may have lost email. That was not a significant meeting?
The issue here was whether we could confirm. Your question was whether we could confirm.
Okay, but you're dealing in a bigger issue. I said, is that not significant?
This entire issue is significant, but I'm actually running an agency that has to deal with filing seasons. We have overseas voluntary disclosure programs. We have voluntary tax return programs we've been putting out. We've been simplifying for small charitable organizations.
And look, I understand that, and that is a great diversion to what we're asking right here. And I get that the IRS has other issues, but I also get that the American people, even over years of making fun and doing everything else that unfortunately the IRS has had in the past, it's not now just the fact that they don't like the IRS because they take, they have to send their money in. They're now where there is an issue, both party line irregardless. They're not sure about the IRS because they don't trust the IRS anymore. Right. And when that is an issue, everything should be focused on that. And this is the question that makes it just completely implausible on we keep getting dribs and drabs. I appreciate what you said on dribs and drabs because that's the problem we have right now. And that's,
Gentleman's time has expired.
Right. Could I just make one point clear, and that is nobody has a greater interest of getting you all the information you need and getting closure on this than I do and the people at the IRS. If we could conclude one of these 6 investigations, find out what the determination of facts are and the recommendations are, we're delighted to take those recommendations. We've accepted all of the Inspector General's recommendations. The last thing in the world that benefits us is to have this go on any longer than necessary. So whatever we can do, as fast as we can produce documents. The relevance of the 960,000 pages isn't that a big amount. It takes a lot of time to get all that done in our system.
The one thing we will agree upon is getting to the end of this is the end result so that we can move on this and the people can restore the trust in a government agency in which they need to have trust that they don't have now. With that, yield back.